All right, let's jump right in. Today, we are taking a tour of something pretty special, a magazine from 1923 called The All-Seeing Eye. It was written and published by the one and only Manly P. Hall, a huge name in esoteric studies. And trust me, this is not your typical magazine, as you're about to find out. Right there on the cover, you get the whole mission statement. The point wasn't just to talk about old, dusty, mystical ideas. No, the goal was to take that ancient wisdom and aim it, like a laser beam, right at the biggest problems of the Roaring '20s. And to really get what this was all about, you've got to put yourself in that time. Picture it. This magazine shows up in your mail, but you didn't just grab it at the corner store. You couldn't, because this thing operated on a completely different set of rules. Which brings us to the first stop on our tour, the magazine's totally strange, almost radical business model. Yep, it says it right there in black and white. This wasn't something you'd buy. It was a privately circulated document, really for Hall's students and people who were seriously into his work. This was never about making a buck. So, how did it even exist? Well, it was supported entirely by what Hall called free will offerings. He basically said, hey, if you get something out of this, pay whatever you think it's worth to you. The value was entirely personal, not some price tag slapped on the cover. So the bottom line is, this was a pure passion project, a non-commercial enterprise, in Hall's own words. It was all about bringing these big, esoteric ideas down to earth and making them useful. So now that we know how it was made, let's see what was actually inside. And right off the bat, this magazine pulls absolutely no punches. It kicks off with a fiery editorial from Hall himself, and he comes out swinging, taking aim at the spiritual groups of his time. With this one line, Hall just puts his finger on a problem he saw everywhere: spiritual hypocrisy. He was calling out all these organizations that talked a big game about fellowship and unity, but, didn't actually practice it. And he uses this amazing, super sarcastic image to make his point. He talks about places that have "love ye one another" hanging over the front door. But then under the back stoop, the real motto is more like "do one another and do 'em good." Ouch. For Hall, the problem wasn't the ideals. The ideals were great. The problem was the people. He blames good old-fashioned selfishness, jealousy, and, my favorite phrase, people who are divinely egotistic. What a perfect description. And his fix isn't some complex magical ritual. It's this incredibly blunt 6-step recipe for basically getting over yourself. Seriously, look at this. Put padding on all your sore points. Don't try to be the big cheese. And of course, number 6 is just a classic. Look in the mirror and behold the greatest fool that ever lived. It's like self-help from 100 years ago. Okay, so let's see how the magazine takes this worldview and applies it to a massive social crisis that was happening at the time. See, this wasn't just abstract philosophy. The magazine dives headfirst into one of the biggest social panics of the era, drug addiction, which Hall just calls the dope problem. But his take on it is, well, it's pretty out there. So get this. He argues that addiction isn't just a physical thing or a psychological issue. No, he says it's a battle against a literal supernatural entity, a spirit of dope. He describes it as this demonic being that's actually built from the combined negative energy of all addicts. Wild, right? So in Hall's mind, you had to fight a two-front war. On one side, you have the physical fight, laws, doctors, education. But he said that wasn't enough. You also had to wage a spiritual fight. The only way to beat this demon dope was to starve it with the collective power of clean, constructive thoughts. But it wasn't all social commentary and fighting demons. The magazine also used storytelling and allegory to get its lessons across. Hall clearly knew that you can't just preach at people all day. Sometimes a good story is the best way to teach. So this issue is also filled with short fiction and retellings of old myths, all designed to explore these big ideas in a way that really sticks with you. Here's a perfect example. It's from a retelling of the Norse myth about the god Balder. In the story, a jealous kid named Olaf throws a rock at his rival. Later, the god Balder confronts him and basically says, "Look at this mistletoe, the one thing that can kill me? This was born from the rock you threw out of hatred." And that really gets to the core message of these fables. That physical act, throwing a rock, it started as an internal feeling, jealousy. And that ugly feeling literally gave birth to the weapon that could kill a god. The lesson is clear. the source of all the bad stuff in the world, it starts inside us. But just when you think you've got this magazine figured out, fiery sermons, deep fables, it hits you with a total curveball. It's actually got a wicked sense of humor. Tucked away in the back is this little gem, a fake newspaper called the Pearly Gates Gazette. And check out this headline. It's reporting that a peace advocate named H. Breeze just arrived in heaven after being killed in a riot at a Brotherhood meeting. The irony is just chef's kiss perfect. And it gets even funnier. The satire pokes fun at everyday bureaucracy with a list of new phone numbers for heaven. Like, the hospital's new number is this absurdly long Odontic Nostrum Valorum 72439, followed by a ton of party line codes. It's the kind of bureaucratic nightmare you'd never expect to find in the afterlife. So at the end of our tour, what exactly was this thing? It was this incredible mashup. It was a fiery sermon, it was a supernatural thriller, it was a practical self-help guide, and it was a comedy sketch, all rolled into one little magazine that you couldn't even buy. And that leaves us with one final thought. The whole point of this magazine was to solve modern problems with ancient wisdom. Well, 100 years have gone by, and our problems are, well, they're still pretty modern and complex. So it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Where do we look for that kind of wisdom today?